Here is my mind body miracle that I wanted to share because this work is constantly affecting my life. I'm so devoted to practicing this, and it's really created unthinkable things, especially over the past year. So I am out here for the summer out east where I grew up, where my family lives, and usually we get our own place. We have our own space. I have like a 4-day maximum of like staying in the house with other people. It's just like a lot of intensity and it's super fun, but then you're like, all right, we need our space. We stayed with my sister for like weeks and weeks. We stayed, all of us, at my mom's house for weeks and weeks. I extended my stay out here. It was so much fun. And one of the big things I noticed was this, like, in each moment you have a choice to be your conscious self of, you want to be a loving person, but then there's like the unconscious self, the programming, and you don't even see yourself doing it. What I noticed over these last couple months was there's this like alternate pathway of who I would have been in the past and what I would have said that was kind of like snippy and snappy and not always kind. And like that now was just like this echo in the background that I wasn't even doing that. And it wasn't just a shift of, it didn't even occur to me. It literally was like an echo in the background of this like faint other timeline of who I would have been or what I would have said, or I would have had to assert myself or say my point of view, or actually some of the comments would not have been kind and definitely wouldn't have added to the conversation. And it's like these unconscious things that I am not doing anymore. And that I had this, I'm like this different person that now chose to either say nothing or just pause and say something kind or have a whole different reflection that was more authentic. And it's so powerful because so often we do not see ourselves in the act of creating shit in our lives. And it's not just that those would have affected my family or my relationships. Like, it affects your physiology. It affects your blood. It affects how you feel emotionally. It affects your work, your money, like every single thing, because your energy, your frequency is electromagnetic and it's affecting everything. And so it was such a miracle to be out here, have pretty much like an awesome time where I felt great. I felt amazing physically. We did like all kinds of exercise, tennis. I got to play some golf, like a lot of fun activity, but also just mentally, emotionally, feeling good, feeling uplifted. There were also a lot of things that were challenging with like taking that much time off. It was a really intense year. Like, I did a lot of work this year. I did a lot of inner work. I did a lot of business work. It was like leaps and bounds of growth to really keep doubling down on who I choose to be. I choose to be like from the wholeness of who I am instead of the mind. I choose to live from the heart. I choose love instead of fear or grasping or, so many things this year where I actually had to put action into that in bigger ways than ever. But then seeing what it was like to take time off, and it's not comfortable. Like, for some people, it might be like, oh, psyched to have all this time off. And I love playing. But for me, it's like, oh, I really love working. I love it. But then can it become addictive where you take time off and it becomes uncomfortable? Yeah, for me, that's more the regular thing. Is like it gets uncomfortable. And there was a lot more downtime than expected because the whole month of June, we found out our kids could not go to this camp that we were expecting them to go to because they needed certain kind of shots and injections and all of that stuff. And that was not the case. And so we found out 48 hours before going she was going to be, Gemma, a whole month away. And Gianni was going to be 3 weeks there at day camp. And we were staying over there in that location. So it was like this big outing. We were all packed. I had trunks upon trunks for Gemma to be at away camp. We'd spent like a ton of money to get the equipment and the special boots and the special bed coverings and like all kinds of special equipment for her. And then found out like, hey, guess what? This is not how it's going. So the ability to pivot in that moment, to be able to, I was like, bah! And like so many things coming up of like, are you kidding me? We're 48 hours out and you're just letting me know this now. But again, like not choosing that path, not feeding that thought, and not like animating that story. Like I literally I saw it go by, it just went right in and right out. Like I'm not feeding that, I'm not putting energy, I'm not even gonna speak to that. Can you believe they did this? Like I didn't put energy into it. And we really were able to pivot within minutes of like, so what are we gonna do? So how are we gonna make this an awesome month? And within minutes, Mario and I came up with an entirely new plan. We got them out here earlier to have Camp Nani and be with family and have so much fun together. And yeah, that meant for me taking a lot more time off on the front end of my summer than I had anticipated. So I'd already had lots of this downtime, but now it was like even more on the front end. So that was like a little tricky to navigate. Like, whoa, what am I gonna do? I have to do this, I have to do that. And realizing, no, I'm letting that go. I'm going to let go of every single thing on my calendar that's not an absolute must, that's not an absolute 10, and it's okay. And you know what? It frickin' was. Like, it was more than okay. But yeah, having all that downtime and that time to just like recalibrate. My team let me know today, because I did get back into our meetings now at the end of the summer, and they said, I'm so glad Kim took all this time off because it allowed us to recalibrate. It allowed us to clean a lot of stuff up and just sort ourselves out on a whole new level, that we weren't like doing anything new. We're just kind of like getting a lot of the back end things taken care of. And I realized it hadn't occurred to me, like not only they're okay and they're supporting me with this, but like it was such a good thing for my business. It was such a good thing for my team. Of course, it was such a good thing for me. And it's ultimately a good thing for the world and for the community, because who I am going back in, restored, refreshed, whole, is an entirely different person. And I was sharing some of that, of just like noticing the self-talk or the timeline or the story. It's not even what I'm living. I'm not animating that. And instead am just choosing from a whole new space, speaking from a whole new space, creating from a whole new space. So I wanted to share this because I'm living this work every day. It is totally creating miracles in my life. And like you, there's the human part who's like, this is kind of hard. I don't want to let things go. It's not comfortable to take that much time off. Do I really deserve it? Is something bad going to happen? How's it going to work out? Like, that was there. And it wasn't there to the extent that it hijacked me and got me not to take time off. It wasn't there to the extent that I took time off, but I couldn't enjoy it. It was there to the extent where it was like, okay, I see you, and I'm going to have this, and I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm going to let this in. And I really did enjoy it. And then, there will be a day where it's not even there anymore. Fine, right? It's a progression. So whatever stage you're at in that progression, where it's like totally hijacking the ship and you're not enjoying your life, but just be aware of it. Just be a little more awareness, because it's years. Like I remember back studying yoga, where I was taught, measure your progress in decades, not years, not months, not weeks or days, but we do it, right? We measure our progress. For me, it's like minute to minute. Am I feeling better? And you just got to ease up on that. Measure your progress in decades and you will see unthinkable miracles. Is there change day to day? Yes. Year to year? Absolutely. Like such living proof of that. So thank you for witnessing my story. I'm really excited to hear about yours. I will see you soon.